I know this will be dependent on the type of work that people are doing, but do you really find value in a workspace? And do you think that there should be more so like a balance of remote work and in person?
I've thought about that a lot, Nick, and I'm thinking if I go back in, I can do all of my work right from my house. I'm totally happy and lucky that the work that I do, I can do completely and without missing a beat from home. But I miss seeing my coworkers. I miss seeing the people who I work with. It's a fabulous group of people who work at Golden Gate University, and I miss seeing them and hearing just how they are and what they're doing. And yeah, I also learn things about, someone will say, "Oh, I just developed this new class on racial inequality, and we're doing this, and it's new, and it's this really cool stuff that we've figured out how to do," and da da da. Da. And I'll be like, let's go get lunch. Let's talk about this. So those serendipitous moments that you learn stuff that can be really valuable. I miss those. But I'm going to be probably one of those people who will choose to mainly continue to work from home.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, Nick and I were talking to somebody recently, and he was mentioning that their workplace is starting to get a pulse for whether or not people, um, you know, I guess it was the thought that if work stays at home and we have this physical building still, how can that building be transformed from office to more of like a corporate gathering space of some kind? Um, and I think that's an interesting perspective. Do you see this transitioning maybe the way benefits are thought of as maybe providing more benefits to employees to attract them in kind of an out? I don't even know if that would be outside of work, to be honest. But like the idea was thrown out there, like you could put a bowling alley in an office and like that would be a draw for employees and it would be a community building space within your company.
I don't see that being talked about, but I think those are the sorts of things that are missing. I remember talking to a person, and this was pre-COVID, and they were telling me about a company that they had worked for where they all went 100% remote. And it was a I forget what the business was. It was some kind of software development, but they were able to do all the work successfully in a distributed fashion, and they did that. And she said to me, "Yeah, it was great, and but in 5 years it fell flat on its face." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Oh, we just lost everything. We lost all connection to one another. There was no kind of human glue holding us together." So I'm not saying that I think that that's bound to happen,
Of course.
um, but I do think that this is an issue that we have to address.
Mhm.
Is what do we do to maintain that what you get from the bowling, what you get from the cafeteria or the coffee shop, whatever. Um, so that people feel connected uh, humanly besides just work wise.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one of the things actually for um my capstone presentation that I did for my degree at GGU, I put in a piece from an article that was written by the Harvard Divinity School about called "How We Gather," and I was telling Nick about this recently, and it looks at these alternative communities and where people who identify. It basically said that I'm sorry, millennials identify a high level of spirituality, but a low sense of religious connection.
Yeah.
So they're seeking this spirituality connection other places, and there's a lot of other communities popping up that
Right.
are giving them access to express the spirituality. And community is huge in that aspect. And I think it'll be interesting to see how, because I think a big difficulty is that people who are feeling this way don't have anywhere to look to outside of work to really have like really good in-depth social interaction. And I think when you take work away, people who are now at home working from home don't have that and
Yeah.
don't know where to turn.
Right.
And I think that that's going to be an interesting role that a company can play in kind of becoming a place for work, but also a community hub of people to kind of work on that culture piece. And I mean that just goes back to the whole mental health conversation. I
Right.
think I think there'll be more of that. It'll be dicey on how that's executed, but um
Yeah, there are some ways that people are doing it, not now during the pandemic, but um, where companies give people some time off to go do some kind of volunteer work
mhm,
together. Things that are providing some sense of doing good for the work, for the world, which is akin to a spiritual kind of
yeah.
connection, but that's company sponsored, or in terms of you get to take some work time to go do this. Those sorts of things, I think that that make companies more attractive to people who are looking for more than just the ability to earn a paycheck and improve their work skills. They also want something else, something more from a place of a sense of purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
social support.
and social support. Yeah. So and the question is, what shape is social support going to take when we're not in the same room to give each other a hug, or to be able to sit down for a cup of tea together? I
Mhm.
guess we can do that here. We can each have but
Yeah.
yeah.
But still, yeah,
There you
as
go.
you like shift to a new job, especially if you're going to a new place, and picking up and moving, if it's all going to be remote, it's going to be really challenging to build those connections. And
Yeah.
I think I took for granted how much of a relationship that I had with my coworkers, like how significant that relationship was
Mm.
until we went to remote work. And then I started to realize that, wow, we had a really good connection. And then it's hard to still reach out just virtually. Um,
Yes.
like a barrier. Like there's obviously the physical barrier, but there's also a barrier in just really accessing that and really wanting to reach out, and then not wanting to put pressure on them to reach out back and have them be busy. There's a lot of different pieces to that.
Well, and also then even further, imagine, Nick, when COVID is over and we can go back to being around in the world, but we still remain remote in our work.
Mm,
It's going to be right now, we have the excuse of saying, well, we can't be together with people. We have to stay inside and isolate because there's this virus out there that we can't catch and spread. But when that's gone, hopefully, then how will we react when we still can go about and mix it up with people, but we still choose, or our organization has chosen for us, that at least 3 days a week you're going to continue to work from home? Will that feel right? We don't. I don't know. I
yeah.
don't, it's we're really, really in a huge changing moment. This is technology being what it is, and the advances that we've made. We've been in a position to switch to distributed work for some time now, but nobody has had the impetus to do so. And now we've been slammed into it, and it's just gone, the change has gone, what would have maybe taken, I don't know, 10 years to happen naturally, to have more and more people say, you know what, we can do this work from home. So why I skip the commute? Let's do this. And then to have people go, what, are you crazy? But then kind of go, yeah, maybe that's not such a bad idea. And so it would have been a slow, gradual transition. But now, boom, overnight, here we are. And I think we're catching up, and we have a lot of catching up to do with what exactly does this mean, and how do we want to play it out? How do we, what's good, what's not good, and the parts that are not good, how can we work with them to make them better? um, it's an exciting moment for creative thinking about work, I think.
Mhm.
I really do. And that's why my goal is to talk to as many people as I can to see what their thoughts are on it, even down to I'm talking to the people who live on my block, um, and say, Do you ever think about what we could do on our block, like that would impact the way you can work? And of course, right now with the kids not being able to go to school, you can think about things you could do to help with the education of the kids. So living in a college town, living in Berkeley, we have a lot of really, really smart, accomplished people on this block who could teach a little while, give a lecture to kids on the block that would be just fabulous for them. And so you can think of things that you could do, and that, right here in my own immediate geographic location. But then I started thinking about, well, how do we expand that so that we can be thinking of the people in the Bay Area more broadly doing their work and meeting the demands that their non-work lives bring? And how can we coordinate in a way that will make both of those better?
Mm,
It's an interesting thought. It's just an
Yeah.
it
interesting
is.
exercise.
One thing I'm thinking about too is, even as you were saying that, and I was thinking back to what we were talking about a moment ago, was how working from we talk a lot about bringing your kids into the office, but what about bringing the office to the school? And if there was some kind of format where maybe classrooms that are empty, or something, or some facility at a school that's maybe empty, could be transitioned into a co-working space, and
Mhm,
parents could just be at the school working. They
mhm,
could have their own quiet space to do what they need,
mhm.
and then be there for their kids in that format, and to continue to use those facilities. I think, yeah, it'll be interesting, because I think, and kind of to the point you're making with the creativity piece, is that somebody's going to come up with something that nobody else thought of,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the perfect solution, but we haven't quite nailed that down yet.
I think it's going to be some kind of a combination of what work can be done where and how we use real estate.
Hmm. Yeah, commercial real estate's going to go through a massive change if companies aren't filling their buildings with people.
Right, but also, like, if you have a bunch of houses, if you live in a residential area or suburban area, and there are a bunch of houses that have extra rooms that could be used for co-work,
Mm,
um, uh, might they become small businesses where they're like mini WeWorks, that
right.
I have
Yeah.
one office that I can build in my garage or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so that then you can make some money off of that, but that person could be then closer to their kid's school or their daycare or whatever, you know, dog daycare places.
It's going to be like a blend of Airbnb
Yeah,
and Uber for WeWorking spaces for traveling business people who want a live and workplace all at the same time, and they could just do it through an app.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's
exactly.
going to be some crazy
Yeah, we got a new
innovations.
business model coming up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a moment of opportunity.
Hmm.
It, uh, but the question is, how do we get the work done that needs to be done for companies, and how do we, while we're doing that, what improvements can we make for the people and the planet?
Hmm.